So Supergirl 2026 is the newest addition to the James Gunn DCU universe. This movie is attempting something that the DCU movies have never attempted before, and that is expanding this beyond the realm of Earth. Because we've seen a lot of DC movies that have come out in this recent decade, and all of them have revolved around Earth. And for this just being the second movie in this cinematic universe, I was kind of surprised that we were going directly into a space adventure. But also really excited because we're going to be able to see creatures. If you know anything about Supergirl, she's not just a carbon copy of Superman. But after watching this, I feel pretty disappointed. Because even though there are things in this movie that work, the overall story is kind of a mess. And it all starts off with Kara doing a bar crawl for her 23rd birthday. And this opening is supposed to show us where Kara is at this point of her life. She's messy and angry, and she's carrying a lot of pain, all while having to deal with her very humble hope who inspires others to do the right thing. Kara, who has some motivation to do that, is still dealing with the trauma of seeing her world completely destroyed. And while she's dealing with that trauma by binge drinking, this movie turns into a True Grit style space revenge story. You have Kara and this new character, Ruth, who's introduced, going on a journey together, looking for revenge and trying to save Krypton. And that isn't a horrible setup for this film. And this movie takes heavy inspiration from Supergirl, World of Tomorrow. And you can feel that comic's influence in this entire story. And the whole theme of this story is that revenge and space western theme, which I do think they do a good job of setting that theme very early on, while also focusing on the things that we talked about before on showing that difference between Clark and Kara. Because as we've seen in past adaptations like the CW Supergirl show, they often make Kara Clark 2.0, when really she's her own character. And that is the biggest thing that this movie does right. Like the fact that this Kara sense why she has lost all compassion and doesn't want to set roots down. The problem is that this movie fails deeply on balancing that with what they're trying to do with her relationship with Ruth. Like for a majority of this movie, Kara's dealing with all these things while also trying to be this inspiration for Ruth and showing her that revenge isn't the answer. But from the scenarios that are set up, I can't believe that Ruth would have any inspiration from Kara. And there's literally moments where she says that herself. Like, I think this movie forgets that it still has to make people believe that Kara can be an inspiration. But it felt like the movie spent most of the time explaining her trauma, but not enough time having her resolve it. Like, we keep seeing flashbacks of why she is the way she is, which I will say are impactful scenes, and I did like seeing Krypton in its prime, but it never has dropped in those emotional scenes. Like, you can feel that emotion and the performance is there. And I do think Millie has promised to be a good Supergirl, but the script is really hurting this performance and not having this full arc land as it should. And you think where the script suffered, we would have the action pick up the slack. But I gotta say, the action is mid-tier at best in this movie. Compared to the action but whenever there's any action sequences, it's in small little stutters. Like, you'll get 10 seconds of her fighting people, then a pause, then another 10 seconds, and there's no flow to it at all. And it was extremely jarring to watch, and you couldn't even tell what was going on. Except for one sequence toward the end of the movie, which I do think is a cool sequence. Doesn't really make sense, but it's cool. And it also has one of the worst needle drops I've ever experienced in a superhero movie. And that's just the frustrating thing is, Supergirl didn't feel powerful in this movie. Like, they really needed to focus on her character bringing a different kind of energy to the DCU. And what's even crazier is most of the good energy and good action scenes from this movie don't even come from Supergirl. They come from Lobo, played by Jason Momoa. And I gotta say, he was one of the best parts of this movie. He brought the energy, chaos, and humor, and every time Lobo was on the screen, it made the movie feel more alive. And honestly, I wish he had a bigger role in this story. And I do hope we get more projects with him in the future because he makes this side of the DCU feel unpredictable and chaotic. And as for some of the other characters, I previously mentioned the character Ruth. What this movie's trying to do with her character, she's supposed to be this character that challenges Kara to become a better version of herself and give the movie that emotional purpose. But it felt her character was super inconsistent and was really there just to push the narrative forward. And speaking of her motivations, we have the villain, Krem. And man, talk about a snooze fest of a villain. Like, he truly just felt like a side plot villain on a CW superhero show. But instead, he's the main villain of this movie, and he doesn't really bring any presence to it at all. There's like one moment where he actually does something that caught me by surprise, and I thought, okay, hey, we're building momentum here. But then for us to be hit with this weak third act, where he again really doesn't do anything. And for a revenge story to work, you need the villain to matter. You need to want that final confrontation. And I just did not feel that with Krem. And again, although this movie did have a lot of problems, there are some things that I enjoyed. Like, I really like the way the space was represented. This movie does make the DCU feel a lot bigger, and I appreciate that. The different planets, the cosmic elements, and the overall world building gave this movie a sense of scale. And that is something I want more of the DCU going forward. But again, I think Millie Alcock has a lot of promise to be Supergirl, but she was fighting the script this entire movie. When the movie focuses on her pain and anger and the damage she is carrying, she sells it. And I hope next time we see her, all of these problems are resolved. But overall, Supergirl is a mess. And that sucks to say because I was really excited for this movie. I wanted it to be the project that fully opened up the cosmic side of the DCU and to make Kara feel like a major player in this universe. And although all the pieces are there, this movie never fully puts them together. And do I think it's a complete flop? I don't. There are some good performances here and moments that shows what this movie truly could have been. But do I think it's something you need to rush out to go see right now? No, I do not. But with that said, if you enjoy the DCU universe, I do think you should go and form your own opinion. There is enough here for us to all talk about and get excited about for future projects. Because even though this movie did not fully work for me, I do think it opens up the door for some interesting things in the future. With one of those things being the Green Lantern show that is going to drop later this year. Which I am going to do a full breakdown and analysis of when that drops, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And if you want to see a more positive review on a superhero property, make sure to check this video out right here. I hope you all enjoyed my review of Supergirl 2026. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!